You're listening to Sooo, Straight Outta Options with Ali and Shimira, the only show that keeps it real about life after college. Presented by Post College Rehab, where you can give and get advice in one single place.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Straight Outta Options.
Again, here are your hostesses with the mostesses. My name is Ali.
And I'm your girl Shimira.
And we're coming to you from West Hollywood.
Now, this is our second podcast ever, so can we get a hand clap right here, okay? And our first show in a series which we're calling Post-Grad Hunger Games, okay? And today we're going to talk to you all about a number of different topics. But just in case you guys are just tuning in with us for the first time, Post College Rehab is an online publication I started that offers a forum for the post-grad community. We share blogs, blurbs, advice, actionable tips to help you find your happy place in the world after graduation day.
That's why Shimira and I have recently started a podcast as part of the online community in order to add a little humor and therapy for any and all of you guys that feel like you aren't quite cutting it into real world, aka paying your own bills while doing something you actually like.
Lord knows how that can be sometimes. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a number of topics again. The good, the bad, and the ugly advice that's been given to us since graduation day.
And some helpful tips on finding a support system wherever you are. But first, on a lighter note, how is everything with you, Shimira?
Everything's going good. I mean, I can't complain. I am preparing for a trip overseas.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Israel, everyone.
Amazing.
This has been a trip that I wanted to take for a long time, and I'm finally knocking it off my bucket list.
Awesome.
So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about working with Post College Rehab, the community. People are definitely getting involved, and we're looking for more of you to get involved. We're looking for contributors, people who would love to share their post-college journey. So definitely hit us up on the website.
Definitely. We're looking for people to share their own stories, input, advice, and their passions. If your story checks out, we even want to feature you on our front page.
Thank you, Ali. Thanks for the plug. Also, what you been up to?
Yeah, well, I'm still working at the Improv on Melrose as a server. And besides finally making some money, it's been really cool being in the presence of and talking to so many huge comedians. Obviously, serving in a club environment is not super glamorous or a very clear path to anything larger, but it's given me so much exposure into the world of comedy, and that's ultimately what I did come out to LA for.
That's good.
So now I think it's a great place for me while I am figuring out my next steps, and at the very least, I can always use the serving skills I've learned here to get a job and make some money in another city.
Yeah.
You know, I am a big believer that as long as you are doing something that you love, doors will open for you. And I'm not embarrassed to admit this, but I've been listening to the Oprah and Deepak Chopra's 21 Days of Meditation. So I'm not going to take credit for this, but I do believe that, you know, when you're doing what you love, the universe will dream a bigger dream for you, and the world can open up in like new and exciting ways. So
that is amazing. You know, Oprah is so inspiring. I mean, I just want to grow up, right? Very cliche, you know. So I definitely believe that. I believe in God that would, you know, bless you with different things in your life and different purposes.
As long as you're taking new, as long as you are taking steps to better yourself, and
taking the steps
things.
And planting your seeds, and we talked about that last time, planting your seeds to, you know, take that journey. Okay, so before we get into our first topic, don't forget, everyone, to check us out on postcollegerehab.com. Make sure you email us your questions and suggestions at SOOO, okay, guys? So that's like so, straight out of options, okay? So that's SOOO, three O's, at postcollegerehab.com.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Shimira. But let's dive right into the first topic of the day. We've all received some bad advice about our futures and stuff we've carried with us over the last 4 years or however long we've been out of college. we had to let a lot of the bullshit advice go because, let's face it, some people's advice is just not for everyone. And man, have I gotten some bullshit advice. Anyways, Shimira, what is the worst advice you've ever been given?
Well, this is not actually advice that I was given, but this is something that really aches my nerves. I went to a conference. It was like a mini seminar the other day, and the guy was talking about how he went to school to be a teacher, but he really, really loved to draw. And one day he was passing Warner Brothers, and he saw that secretaries was walking out, and he was like, "Hey, I can work there too." So he went with all his doodles, and yes, doodles. And
Why is that what he said?
Yes, doodles. I guess drawings that he did throughout high school, and he presented it to them, and they hired him. Which, I'm like, the story is amazing. It's like, wow, you know? But sometimes we're looking for those realistic stories where, like, okay, what were you doing before then? And what do you actually do? How do you even get on the lot? I mean, even though this was 28 years ago, I'm sure that the lot wasn't made, the fences wasn't made out of pencils or something where he could just knock them down. So we're just looking for those real stories. And it's like, what's the middle place? What is it called? Like the rock between the hard place?
Yeah, no.
Like
between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, what's
like
that middle? Yeah, what's that like place? You know, we want to know about your nose.
Struggles.
And, we want to know about your nose. We want to know about your entry level jobs and your failures.
No, so true.
Mm-hmm. And also, even just, I guess, mentorship. Too, like even going to mentors or people saying, hey, you know, you need a mentor, or talking to these VPs or executives, like taking them out to dinner. Like, you don't need to take everybody out to dinner. I mean, you don't need to take anyone out to dinner, really.
I think when people give you advice about mentorship, they say, everything was so much easier for me once I found a mentor. And it's like, yes, I'm sure that is the case. I've even found a few female comedians that I've really appreciated their advice and feel really comfortable around them when I'm at work. And I think that, you know, people say find a mentor, but they don't tell you how important it is to just find that organically and somebody that feels natural.
Somebody that you've been, and that's what they say. They say, you know, you have to build these relationships first. And it's like, you know, when you get to that point, you don't even know they're going to be a great mentor until you actually get to that point, you know? So, yeah. So that's kind of a little shaky up in the air as well. But what about you?
I have two pieces of bad advice that I've been given, and I don't want to get too personal, but the first one I got when I first came out to LA, and it was when I got connected with this guy that wrote for Family Guy. I told him that I was interested in writing for a sitcom, and he told me that the only way really that you could get noticed in that world is by being a PA, which is obviously the path he took. He was a PA, and then he was an assistant in the writer's room for a couple more years, and then he finally got asked to work as a writer. And I thought, you know, that seems like 6 years for something, you know, that I have to wait and work my ass off for, and it's something that I might not even want.
Yeah, that's true.
And the process, you know, I was older when I came out to LA, not old, but, you know, 24, 25, a little bit older than other kids right out of school. And it just seemed like, you know, this is kind of bullshit. I asked him if he knew anybody in the stand-up world, and he said that the two don't cross over. And I just thought, well, this is from one person's perspective, and
that's
everybody
so
has their own story. It's, you know, it's
how can the two not cross over? It's both comedy, right? Or
absolutely. I mean, people that work on shows are people that put in some of the best 15-minute sets at the Improv doing stand-up.
And not even that. The people who write some of the shows are they act in some of the shows. Like like the Mindy Project. That's most of the cast is in the writer's room, you know? That and New Girl. So
are they really?
Yeah.
I love Nick Johnson.
Yeah, they act and they're in the writers' room.
And but what you just said is really funny because it kind of goes into the next thing I was going to say, which is my sister out here. She is a couple years older than me. She's actually a reality television producer, and she sent me this link a couple days ago, or a few weeks ago now, for an office manager position at Hello Giggles, which is the only reason I said that one kind of links to the other, is that Zoe Deschanel started Hello Giggles, and she's on New Girl. And it is a very inspirational kind of female-driven BuzzFeed. And I interviewed for this position, but my sister was kind of giving me all these tips about, ways I could change around my resume, ways I could change around my LinkedIn, things that I could say that I've done. And I said to her, my sister's super type A and very ambitious and motivated, very smart girl. And I just, my brain doesn't process things the same way as hers does. So it got to a point where my sister was giving me all this advice, and I just said, you want to know what, Jenny? If they wanted a you and then they ended up with a me, I would fucking be fired anyway. So I'm sick of, I've been on so many interviews. I moved out here a year and a half ago, but starting 3-4 years ago, I started taking interviews as an assistant for big talent agencies. And I am just sick of telling so many little white lies about my job experience, etc. When they're gonna know damn well off the get-go whether or not when I show up for my first day of work, if I can do these things, or if my personality and my hard work, is worth nurturing so that I can do good at this job.
That's true. Like, they do tell you, because when I first moved out here, I went to a couple agencies, and they was like, can we change the title of your last position, because I was associate producer, to something like entry level, like an assistant, because they knew that my resume wouldn't get grabbed. Right. So it was just kind of like, really? Okay, but let's turn it around. We'll switch it around, because we did get a lot of good advice,
Absolutely.
We definitely did. What about good advice for you? Do you get anything, or?
Good advice. I would say that the best advice that I've been given is just by my mother. I'm sure I'll come up with something later on as we go through this series. But it really has been, every time that I've faced hardships since I've been out in LA, that my mom, has told me that everything is a pivot point. Any skill that you gain, any time that you spend unemployed looking for your next job, every, job that you are unhappy with is a pivot point. It gives you skills that you would otherwise not have. It gives you insight into things that you would never want to do again. Mm-hmm. And even in the serving position, it could, offer me exposure and an opportunity to meet with the talent booker at the Improv, who could put me on stage for 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Or at worst case scenario, I want to completely get out of the comedy business and I go to New York City for a little while and try to figure things out there, and I can, take a job making money as a server there, and then I gain those skills. Yeah. So just pivoting, I think, is really crucial.
That's really good.
How about you, Shimira?
Well, I would say that the best advice that someone gave me, and I'm learning to do, because I never did this before, but apply for everything and anything. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be in your career field. Just apply, make the money. I have an interview coming up. And it's not what I want to do.
So, straight outta options. Presented by Post College Rehab, where you can give and get advice in one single.
So I'm excited about it. I'm getting myself. As long as I'm not miserable, definitely. If your job is crazy, then you don't have to do it, because this is your life. And that goes to my next point. It's okay to quit.
It's okay if you get fired also.
It's okay to quit, because I feel that, this industry tries to make it seem like, oh, if you quit, you're a quitter for life, and people don't talk about how many times that they quit. But if your values are getting picked on, if you're getting pinned against the ground and you can't move and you can't breathe and you can't live your own life because you're too busy working for a company that doesn't care anything about you, then...
And the next step is not even necessarily something...
Yeah, but to go on for that, like, it's okay to be the CEO of yourself, and that's the thing. You have to, when you get in this industry and when you get in your career field, you have to be the CEO of yourself. You are a brand, and you have to think that way. So it's okay to quit. Also, like
people don't talk about getting let go from jobs either, and I've been let go from a lot of jobs. Now that I've talked to other people that are in my position or that are successes now, they've told me that they have gotten let go from a lot of jobs. And a lot of times it doesn't even say that much about you, but maybe it was not the right fit.
It wasn't the
right fit. People are just embarrassed to talk about that kind of thing.
Or like you put so much on your resume, and then it's like, oh, you really can't do half of this stuff, and then you have to let go. But it was a great experience, and you can still put it on your resume and say, hey, I worked there. Maybe not give them as a reference, but you tried it and you experienced it, and now you can go into the next position with your mind on straight.
Absolutely.
But like another thing is, I would say one of my friends gave me yesterday was getting out of your funk. Going out places and socializing with different people, networking and doing different conferences, because sometimes when you're like a writer, you're a comedian, I'm a writer. Sometimes we're isolated trying to work on our craft.
So isolated.
But sometimes you just need to get out and socialize with people, because when you're like isolated, that depression comes. That's why being an entrepreneur is like is an isolated thing, because you become depressed because working on your craft.
And you can only listen to your punchline so many times before you're like, okay, maybe this shit's not even funny. I don't know. But but I think that you actually just brought up like two sides of a coin, which are not just networking and going out there to conferences. Like, you don't need to have your mind only on business.
Yeah.
I think that you were speaking to both of those things, which is, sometimes you do need to get out there and network and go to conferences and meet people in your industry. But I think
not be so focused on like, I gotta meet, or I have to get a job. Just go in there and building relationships. Like, I met so many people.
Focusing on that side.
Yeah, absolutely. Building relationships, like just being friends with folks, because we're all at the entry level position, all trying climbing the ladder, and you never know who's going to be that person. And you could say, hey, that's my girlfriend, or that's my homeboy,
or just your best friend. Exactly. A lot of it is just about socializing. I mean, we're going to talk about some support tips in a second. I know we're running out of time, but regardless of anything that we just said, I would definitely say what helped me to figure out what I really wanted to do is when I met with people writers in the writer's room, writers outside the writer's room, and writers who were trying to get inside the writer's room. And I realized that process and that journey I did not want to do, because I realized I'm a different type of writer. I'm more of a storyteller. I like to tell stories. I like to craft stories. I like the process of storytelling, and I don't like in the side of being a television writer, it's like you have to write for somebody else, and you have to keep on coming up with these stories, and they're long hours. Personally, I need my sleep so I can craft these stories. But what I learned is I'm more of a novel writer. I like to write books. And that's another thing that you have to probably get to know yourself in this industry, in anything that you do. In any industry.
Yeah, anything. Like business, finance, you just got to understand what makes you happy and what you're comfortable with.
Process has so much to do with things, because there is so many, an actor, a musician. I heard something a couple of months ago when I was really struggling with what my next step was going to be, that said, if you are always waiting to be a big actor or celebrity, it might never happen. So you need to enjoy every single day in the process of getting somewhere. If you fantasize and dream about being the lead singer of a band, well, if you don't, if you're not happy, if you don't enjoy the process of picking up a guitar every day and practicing it, if you don't like going to auditions and trying new characters and new roles, and that's not exciting, well, you can't, the end goal, the ultimate whatever, it might not be that you are Leonardo DiCaprio. You might not even be somebody that's on a soap opera. What's important is that you look back on your life and you knew you were happy with the effort and the passion that you put into everything on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly.
And really quick, back to a topic that I feel like was kind of not, we didn't whatever over it, but with the idea of not only going out there and networking with people and meeting friends that could put you in your next job, or even become your best friend, just doing things that have zero expectation just for you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even a great artist or anything, but I love to work with my hands. I know you do too.
Yeah, I love to paint.
And just, as therapy to ourselves, just getting out there and signing up for a painting class, or just doing it in our free time. So really quick, I know we are totally running out of time, but I just wanted to say, we're already burned through our time, I know, but we want to also offer you guys some helpful tips on finding a support system wherever you guys are.
Yes.
So
and even though this, you have to pay for this, which I'm very upset about, but it's a great. Well, it can be if you want to join different groups, but meetup.com. You can join the groups, but sometimes some groups you have to pay a membership, which is crazy to me. But it's a great way to meet people.
Well, we're promoting it, so some things are like as cheap as $1, though, right?
Yeah, some
Nothing
are
crazy.
$1.99, but then some are really cool and they're like $14.99. So, and that's monthly, so it's you got a budget, and if you're like entry, then you can't really do that. But
it's to promote. I think that the pricing model came in just to create accountability, that people would actually show up for these meetups, not just join and not show up.
I guess
but
so.
Yeah, and then the piece of advice that I wanted to give you guys is, even though I haven't done this, there are such great leagues in every major and minor city, like joining a dodgeball or a kickball or even a beach volleyball league. I know, Shimira, that's something we could consider doing
Yeah,
together.
I really want to do
It's fun.
kickball, so that'd be fun.
Definitely.
Anyways, guys, we're out of time right now, and I'm out of battery. I got 2%. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I want to let you know, please join our Facebook group, post questions, let's talk, let's have a conversation. We really, really want to connect with you all.
Absolutely, and we hope you all come back and tune in again with us next week when we talk about dating and relationships, and even making a smooth transition into post-grad life wherever you've settled down.
Yay, okay, and thank you for listening to
Straight Outta Options. Bye, guys.
So, Straight Outta Options. Presented by Post College Rehab, where you can give and get advice in one single place.